Well, the Clemson Tigers are heading back to postseason play for the 33rd time in the last 34 years. How are you guys doing? Mike Uva alongside me is Will Palaszczuk. And Will, Clemson's in. You said it last week. You said that it was a soft bubble. Do you think it did help, though, being able to beat Clemson and being able to beat Louisville?
Louisville, I think that victory was the shoe-in. I still would have liked to see what would have happened, just for drama's sake and just to prove what everybody had been telling us over the course of the past couple of weeks about the soft bubble, about the fact that Clemson did its work against Wake Forest. But you certainly felt a lot better after the Thursday victory. Matt Clark goes into the ninth inning with a no-hitter, retires the first 22 Louisville batters to face him, and the offense backs it up, too, from the Tigers. And we kind of knew going into the weekend that they were going to have to go on the road to an SEC regional, and they necessarily didn't draw a very easy one with Ole Miss and all the teams that they'll have to basically tackle with against them in Oxford.
How confident are you, though, with them going into postseason play? Yes, they were able to get a big win against Louisville, but this is the same Cards team that lost to Boston College.
Boston College certainly upset the apple cart, and it's the second year in a row that the 12th seeded team got to the semifinal round. Pittsburgh did it a year ago in Durham, and you wonder about the desperate nature of a lot of these teams, and it just goes to show you again that the ACC, while they had some top-heavy teams, the rest of the pack was very much bunched together, and I think Boston College used that desperate nature, used that ability to try and get a couple of victories over both Clemson and Louisville, and as a result, made a little noise in Durham, but not enough to take the victory.
Well, as we take a look beforehand, we can take a talk about who is in their region, but Monty Lee had a chance to talk about postseason play. Here's what Coachy had to say.
We looked at the metrics after the Louisville win and felt like we were in good shape. We felt like we were in the whole time. But again, you just never know. Again, it's the committee looks at all the factors. They look at all the metrics and all the teams, and they felt like we were worthy of being in the field of 64, and we're certainly grateful that they felt that way.
So they're drawn now. They're going up against the Illini. They're the 3 seed. Got them, of course, as number 2, the Illinois. But what do you think about the draw? What do you think about what their chances are to be able to come out of the Oxford region?
It'd be a very, very difficult regional to come out of, Mike, just because of the fact that they are a team that is in a regional that has 3 Power 5 teams in it. And, of course, you add in Ole Miss, obviously, with the host, and obviously Illinois, who will have some fans coming down there from the Midwest, and a team that hasn't been in the tournament in a couple of years, and not really a team that was projected to be there. They're very much happy to be there going in. They had a very big contribution from a left-handed starter from their junior college ranks, junior college transfer as a result of that. So because of that, they're much more improved team than I think people thought they would be. But I think Clemson has to feel a little bit of the pressure off, because over the last couple of years, they've had to host regionals at Doug Kingsmore Stadium. It hasn't worked out for them, especially the last couple of years against Vanderbilt. I honestly think that they have the opportunity to possibly go on the road, make some things happen, because they'll be playing kind of with house money.
Well, how about Coastal Carolina? We knew they were going to make it to the tournament because they won another Sun Belt championship, back-to-back for the Chanticleers. And how about this? 80 runs scored in the 6 Sun Belt tournament games they played. They scored 26 in Saturday's semifinals. That's a Sun Belt tournament record. They are playing red hot right now. Yes, they were the 5 seed going into the conference tournament, but now they are going on with the automatic bid for winning the conference title. Is this a team we should keep an eye on?
They made the most out of having the conference tournament in their building for the last time in this stretch, and used the home field advantage to their advantage. And, it's weird, Mike, when you think about the Sun Belt, it's not necessarily a league that lends you to a lot of very big RPI victories. You need to kind of make your work and get your work done in the non-conference. Coincidentally enough, they actually played this Illini team 3 times during the season, once by the beach and then twice up in Champaign, losing both the games in Illinois, and had to play a very, very strong non-conference schedule. As a result of that, they have to do that every year under Gary Gilmore, and they didn't necessarily help their own cause in the Sun Belt season. That's why they were seeded all the way down at 5 in the Sun Belt Conference tournament. But this is always a team that knows how to play once the calendar turns to May and June.
So remember Art Briles, he was the head coach of Baylor a couple of years back, and then, of course, you had the sexual harassment, you had all the things going on over there, and it was not good. It wasn't good.
No.
But Coach Briles is back in the game. He's going to be coaching a high school team.
Keeps Northwestern
Texas.
State out of the end zone.
I know you have a lot to say about this, so I'm just going to let you jump right into it.
I do not like this at all, Mike. I was in Texas when Art Briles and this whole thing was going down, and just the lack of responsibility taken by him, the irresponsibility that existed in that entire university from the president through the athletic director and to Briles on down, it just was so rampant. And I just think that any of those men and any of those people who were employed by Baylor University are some of the most unemployable people that are not in jail in America because of all that they allowed. There were 52 reported sexual assaults and allegations at the time there, and a couple of convictions when the burden of proof for that crime is harder to obtain than any other crime in our American legal justice system.
And we play the devil's advocate here.
How?
I am not, and I know we live in a world where context, everything's taken out of it because, we can just go online, we could snip, snap, and that. It's not going to sound exactly the way it came out, but hear me in full, okay? I truly believe that second opportunities should arise, okay? In a situation like this, he's got the scarlet letter on himself. Wherever he goes, he's going to have to carry that. I truly believe that he was going to have an opportunity at some point to coach again, as heinous as this was, because that's just the world that we live in when it comes to coaching. It's just how it is. If you can get things done on the field, it's going to happen, okay? I'm shocked how quick it's happened, and I'm shocked, number two, that his first opportunity is a high school gig. A high school gig.
Correct.
All right? I am shocked that a high school would take on a man who is just to the point where how can you send your daughter there? How can you,
It's crazy.
What is the benefits of bringing him there aside from
Absolutely
just maybe
not.
his winning culture in the sense that he's able to coach football?
Absolutely no benefit to bring him in here, and the press release that they put out, and the fact that they put it out late on a Friday night before a holiday weekend.
Oh, that's a safe play.
Tells
safe
me
play wants to stay away from the media. They don't want everyone to be asking them questions,
Right.
which is going to happen at some point. Because I'm sure they're going to have a huge introduction, not like you see at a lot of high schools, but when you have him, it should be interesting to see if they bring everyone in, pictures, microphones, all this fun stuff.
It lacks integrity, it lacks sensitivity, and most importantly, it lacks just any concern for anyone who was involved in that situation having to relive that. There's a reason he got a $15.1 million settlement from Baylor because they knew it would be impossible for him to work again. And the fact that people found him employable is disgraceful in my mind.
I think at some point he was going to get a second chance. Like I said, I'm just shocked that it's happened as quickly as it has, especially his first job coming back being at the high school level. Moving to the NBA, the Raptors are moving on to the NBA championship for the first time in franchise history. After trailing 2-0 to the Milwaukee Bucks, Kawhi Leonard. Well, I guess it was pretty smart for him to kind of sit out and kind of quit on the Spurs. I think everything kind of worked out for him, huh?
Yeah, I completely guessed this wrong, Mike. I think we thought that Kawhi Leonard's time in Toronto would not be memorable, and obviously the divorce from the Spurs was not pretty, like you said, and he didn't necessarily want to be in Toronto. There was a lot of mutual disdain kind of there after the trade, and people kind of wondered if this was going to be a one-and-done scenario for him, and boy, has he made the most of it. And people were wondering whether or not he could lead, whether he could bring enough offensive prowess to be the kind of guy who stands amongst the NBA's elite, and I think he's at least thrust himself in there. Think about the game-winning shot against Philadelphia, the way he helped carry the team in Game 5 to the victory on the road, and then closing it out at home before having to go back to Milwaukee for potential Game 7. It's something that I didn't see happening, and it's a wonder to behold. I don't know if they have a chance against the Warriors, but I do like at least him getting to this point.
And you bring up the Warriors, and that's a good transition because when you look back at the NBA Finals, now they're going up against Golden State trying to win another championship, trying to three-peat. This matchup, and I know last year, and we've seen in years past sometimes with LeBron teams, it wasn't a couple of years ago when he had Kyrie, I'm talking about last season. Not the sexiest matchup.
No.
With one reason being, when you're talking about the Toronto Raptors, if you're talking just to average Joes walking down the street, they might be able to identify, that's Kawhi Leonard. Can you name anyone else on the Raptors for me?
Other than Kyle Lowry and Siakam? No.
No.
Basically, those two guys are the people who...
And some people might not even know those guys who don't follow basketball every day.
They know Kyle Lowry because Lowry's been there. He's a homegrown guy. But Siakam's a guy who's kind of come on lately. And Toronto, like you said, doesn't have a lot of household names. But I think that is kind of what the onus is on them, because if Kevin Durant misses Game 1 and/or Game 2,
come on, don't you even say that there's any chance that this team's going to win.
That could be the open window.
Oh,
for
will
them.
you stop?
Could be the open window.
Stop.
I'm not trying to sell out for the folks on this.
This is a team that had 73 wins before Durant got there.
I
Everyone's trying to
understand.
say, oh my God, what an amazing job. They're able to win these games without Durant. Well, you stop
I'm
it.
not saying it's going to happen.
I mean, this is like playing NBA 2K on easy level. I mean, you got to be kidding
I'm
me.
not trying to
Rookie
say
level.
that it's
Come
going to
on, man.
happen. I hope it happens because I believe you're right.
I want to see him back, and I want to see them lose. That would be the best.
Well, no,
then they're just going to explode. They're going to go their separate ways, but I don't think that's going to happen.
But I do think you're right. I do think that
People
a
can dream,
portion
though.
of the NBA postseason has turned boring because it's been so warrior heavy and so warrior laden. And while teams love to see, or viewers usually love to see success, I think America's bored with the Warriors outside of course, the Northern California Valley.